We're live.
All right.
The second official impromptu-ish live stream. We actually did prepare a little more. The only problem is everything we prepared for just meant just creating a landing page and scheduling it. All the content that we are hopefully going to talk about today is actually we haven't seen yet. So
Yes.
we are.
It's the first time we've ever done something like this.
Yeah. The good thing we did coordinate is with our gray sweatshirt. So we're on the same page there.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, I guess for people watching this either recording or live, my name is Max Bernstein. Max, do a lot of AI implementation, AI consulting, been in marketing for several years, and I'm here with my partner, Zane.
Yeah, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Zane Hassib. I been working with Max for about better part of last year, and yeah, we're doing a lot of really cool stuff with AI, just pushing the limits and really trying to discover with our curiosity where it can take us. So that's kind of the point of this live stream, and we're super excited. It's a bit of a new format that we just came up with brainstorming the other week, and we thought, why not give it a shot and try it out and see how it resonates. So we're pretty excited to see what we have submitted in the vault.
Yeah. So if you didn't see the invite, what we decided to do is, instead of giving you guys the basic how-to content, because there's a million how-tos out there, and today we wanted to talk about Claude Skills and show you a little bit behind the scenes of how we think about Claude Skills, what they are, how we're using them. And again, instead of us just going into our library and trying to build one for you, what we decided to do, and let me share my screen, is try and build some live based off questions that people had and problems that they had. So let me bring up the page itself. I got to show this off a little bit because I think it's pretty cool looking. And it's also just another great example of what you can do with AI so quickly. Because I think we had this idea on Friday night at 10:30, right, Zane? So
that's right.
And built this landing page that night. And I guess we pushed it to the stage, I guess, is what you got to do on this.
Yes.
I gotcha.
There we go.
So we put together this site on Friday night. So again, it's just wild that we can do that. It says we're live now. So before, there's a nice little countdown timer to this. Gives you a little background on what we're doing. One thing we put in here too is clarifying your problem first. I actually will talk about this a little bit because I think this is super important in solving any problem in general, whether it's for yourself or for a client. Getting really clear on what you're actually solving is huge, because most people usually just describe the symptom of the problem and not the actual problem itself. So we gave people a prompt built off the Toyota's famous 5 whys drill down to really figure out what your problem is and then submit it. So yeah, so there should be some submitting. I wasn't sure what it was going to look like, if we were going to have a cool animation or what.
Yeah, we've literally never seen what's behind it, so it's pretty cool. Whoa, we got 4.
Well, 2 are tests.
So.
Wow. So we have one from Jason, one from Mike. It says, so pretty much Jason is lacking a reliable low friction system that captures and regularly resurfaces each client's long-term personal context and last session commitments before calls, so you show up unprepared. I think it was just I don't know how that got copied over. It's kind of weird. So it's kind of the same thing. So okay, so we'll solve this one, and then we got some other ones that we could show off.
Is that the same? Is that the same one up top with a different?
Yeah, I'm not sure. What? That was interesting. I don't know if it got submitted twice, but there you go. We'll just put it up here, just so we see it. So okay. So I think to get started, maybe we just do a quick setting the context of just what Claude Skills. I know we're not doing, they said we were staying away from how to, that kind of normal stuff, but I think it is important to at least set the context of what they are for people who aren't familiar. Do you want to either do a screen share, or I can, Zane, of maybe behind the scenes of what a Claude skill is and just how you're using it first? and then we'll
Yeah,
dive into this.
yeah. Since your screen's up, we can kind of talk through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what what Claude skills really are the best way to describe it is like they're prompts and projects kind of combined, and they're very what I'll say is composable, which means you can kind of have them do lots of different things, feed them with lots of context. But the cool thing about them, which makes them different from either projects or just pasting a prompt directly into your LLM, is the fact that Anthropic built them to have what they call progressive loading. So it kind of understands, it chooses what it loads into the context window of the AI as you're going. So what that enables is some really unique use cases that you couldn't do before, where you can really kind of put a lot of different information related to a workflow into one Claude skill, but it doesn't necessarily need to all be loaded at once. I think like a more relatable example is like if you put your brand guidelines into a Claude skill, you might have a different way of applying your brand guidelines for PowerPoint presentations, for documents, for marketing materials. There might be different types of marketing materials. So, really, what Claude Skills kind of enables you to do is there's a main prompt that they call the skill.md file. That is kind of like the master instructions, similar to like a project instructions for Claude projects or ChatGPT. But then all of the files you'd normally save in a knowledge base in a project, when you save them in a skill, it's a zip file, honestly, at the end of the day. But when you save it in there in a references folder, it can actually only select what matters. So if you come in there and you say, "Hey, Claude, I need to work on a PowerPoint presentation. Please apply my brand guidelines." Claude then knows to call your brand guidelines skill, but it's only going to look at what's relevant to what you asked, right? So it just enables a really broader use case for how you can go about designing these things. And what's also cool about it is you're not now locked into a specific project. Before, it's like you could create one for all your brand work in one specific area, but now you could just start a chat anywhere, whether you're in a project or just in your main Claude. But you can invoke the skill anywhere. So it's really kind of interesting. I know it's hard to it might be hard to process just kind of hearing what I'm talking about. So we're gonna show some of that. But that's kind of the overall idea. And I think a lot of people didn't realize just how powerful they could be when they only came out, I think, in November. But recently we've just been seeing a lot more content and people talking about it, and that's why we thought we'd do more of like a deep dive, but actually show you the art of the possible and what you could do with them, and get your creative juices flowing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's really good. To me, the biggest meta concept and the biggest benefit I see from skills is you're now getting prompts, workflows, things you're doing all the time that you have to remember, or you're used to having to go and copy paste it from a Notion doc, from a Word doc, wherever you store your prompts, and it's going to just fit more naturally into your workflow. So to me, it's looking at a higher level of when we're working with AI now. How can we create this level of customization and create these workflows and these prompts so they show up when we need them without having to think about it? I think that is, to me, what the biggest value of all of this is. When you have these certain sets of skills actually installed in your system, they will, if designed right, show up when you need them without having to think about it. So it's all just a seamless process. When that happens, I mean, all the downstream effects of that is, obviously just much more consistency. You're operating much more efficiently because you're moving faster. You're not having to look stuff up. A lot of positive things that come from that. And I guess one other point of clarification on what skills are is, I put together just a quick doc of this too. But one of the biggest things is the difference between a project and a skill. So if you look in Claude itself, am I sharing the? Can you see my screen, Zane?
No, I think I'll put it on stage.
Oh yeah, we tossed it on stage. Wait for a second.
There we go.
Okay, cool. So the difference between a project and a skill. So if you look at projects, so if we click here, everyone, inside of Claude, ChatGPT, same, everyone's has projects, right? These are very contained workspaces. So for me, especially, it just helps me in my head keep everything organized. When I'm working on X, when I need X, I go to this project. So it just keeps it very contained. I obviously have a ton of these. Every time I pretty much start something new, I create a new project. If anything else, it helps. It serves as a reminder for me. That being said, what happens in this project or what happens in this project stays isolated inside that project. If I leave that project, none of the information or none of the custom instructions, prompts, knowledge files come with me. However, when I install a skill, and to do that, you go down here, settings, you click on capabilities. You want to make sure all these little suckers are turned on down here. You will see it is add a skill. I actually saw the other day, and it's not happening every time. Now I have to prompt it, but when you're actually creating skills inside of Claude, so one of the things you can do is get Claude to create these skills for you. But what you do is you just come in here and add the skill. You can create with Claude, so it'll start a conversation and kind of walk you through that. Write your skill instructions or just upload. I don't know if I've ever even used these two. I'm always just uploading from here. When you do that, you'll upload it as a .skill file, .md, or a zip file. So like when I do that, you literally, it's just drag and dropping in here. So over here, that's one I just created. So I just do that and boom, it's installed across your entire system. These are extremely helpful if you guys are using Claude Code as well, but we won't get into Claude Code because that's a bigger training. I know, a very hot topic right now. But just for the purpose of this, that's the very basic level, and they have tons of documentation on exactly how to create it.
Yeah.
But the best part is everybody comes with what are called Claude, or coming with Claude pre-installed skills, where you just come down here. They should be installed for you. And one of them is this skill builder. And so just by having this, you could actually call on this to help you build skills for yourself. So if there is a workflow you're already talking with Claude about inside a chat, if you have a prompt that you're always using all the time inside of Claude itself, you could just say, hey, use the Claude builder skill to create the skill for me. So it all kind of sounds scary if you haven't done this before, but I promise you it's super simple. Once this is turned on, it's as simple as saying, hey, Claude, create this skill for me, and you're ready to roll.
Yeah. And that's pretty much how I've built every single skill, is using the skill builder skill to just help and just work through, what I wanted to do. And then it kind of just goes back and forth with you and then builds it for you. And basically, like Max said, it sounds more complicated than it really is. It's really just having a conversation, and within a couple of minutes you'll have a skill.
Yeah. So super easy. This is just a quick Word doc. The folks that showed up, I'll just toss it in the chat for you if you want to get it. But again, the biggest difference between a project is it's your office, the files, the instructions, even the context about that one client's weird quirks. When you leave this room, when you leave your office and go to a different project, none of that's going to come with you. Versus a skill, once you install it on your system, like we just showed you, it works across every conversation, no matter where you are working. That skill has the ability to then show up. So I think that's a good 101. I think it'll make more sense as we start diving into it. This because obviously, if you wanted to just kind of dig into this a little more, I would go for it. But
if anyone has questions as we're going through this, feel free to put them in the chat. We could see your questions on our stream here. We'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, exactly. So we enjoy the questions, actually. So the more you give us, we are happy to answer. If you have a problem, if you want us to create a skill for you, put that in too, and we could try and get to it for you too. So it's a free skill session for you. So before we jump into the other one too, so this is one of the problems that we're going to try and dissect today. I think so much of the benefit of doing this too, Zane, is just showing people. Ron, you can update skills. Yep. And especially if you install them yourself, all you have to do is tell Claude to update the skill and it'll update it for you, which is really cool. Or you used to have to create the skill again, update the skill,
Download it,
re-download it,
re-upload.
delete the
Yeah.
old one, and do it. And now you could actually just
Yeah.
tell
Now,
one.
if you update a skill, it'll actually, there'll be a little button pop up in the Claude chat itself that will ask you if you want to like basically copy this to your skills, and it'll know that it's an update.
Yeah, exactly. Good to see you, Ron. If anybody needs a really badass copywriting email bot or any copy bot, Ron Javier in the chat is your man. He's brilliant with that stuff. Okay, so one of the reasons we also want to do this and we wanted to share this stuff is to kind of show a little bit too of how we think about one, problem solving, and about how we work with AI, because to me AI is it's an incredible technology, but there's a lot of nuance to how you work with it. In why I think a lot of general AI education doesn't do a good job, because there is a lot of nuance involved and there's a lot of customization involved. So we wanted to kind of show you one, what is possible just with AI, because you don't know what you don't know sometimes, and two, help you just understand how we think about it and understand the nuance behind it. I think
Right.
is a lot of what we do or want to do with this. And so part of that is when we thought about doing this, it forced me, which I really like, to go back and think about how do I actually look at problems when they come in, or when someone asks me a question about a business situation, or when they're trying to solve X, or when they're trying to build a solution for Y. Like, how do I actually think about that, and how do I then actually go about solving it? And so I had a lot of self-reflection last night about this, and this morning, and just about my process overall. So it was super helpful for me. But Zane, I'm curious, when you get a question, is there a certain steps you go through, or a mental checklist, or how do you think about it when someone says, "Hey Zane, I want you to help me with a problem"? Do you immediately is there a series of steps you immediately do, or how do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, there is. I think this is probably where your expertise with the cognitive fingerprint would help me to actually describe it. I know there is like a mental list of steps I go through. I mean, really, to try to describe it, it's usually first just kind of breaking it into steps and kind of identifying the, then I can really identify like what do I need to try to do to address each of those steps, and then kind of you start to, for me, I start to see how those steps start linking together. Like, you very quickly are like, okay, well, if a problem is I don't know about something, like first I need to go research that, and then now I have new artifact or new piece of content that like comes into this, and then what's the next step. And so I kind of probably process it a little bit mentally, but in the background it's a lot of I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, what am I going to need? I guess maybe let's think about it like, what do I need to bring to the party? And it's like I look at a problem and I'm like, okay, I kind of am like, well, I'm probably going to need to use these tools. I'm probably going to need to go do research on things that I don't understand as much, and then bring all of that stuff back together, and then lay out my plan of attack, and kind of how am I going to go step by step. So especially when it comes to AI, like I feel like after a while you just start to develop a little bit of an intuition where you're like, okay, this is probably a question for Gemini. This is probably a question for Perplexity. And then I'm going to go do all these things. Then I'm going to kind of come back to Claude to synthesize and move forward. Like I think I've over time just using all the different AI tools have just developed that sense. But yeah, that's kind of how I start breaking things down, and just thinking about what am I going to need to do, what are the steps, what are the tools I need to use, what information do I not know, and kind of plan it all out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's really good. What is I've discovered, especially because of AI, is if you can install certain principles or certain mental models for problem solving, you can solve just about anybody's problem. And I know that sounds crazy, but you have the world's like entire knowledge base on your back, right? When you know how to talk to and work with AI, if you could if you could diagnose a problem, if you could really understand what the person is trying to accomplish, you could then you marry that with AI to help you solve that, and to use that as the knowledge base, as the expert on your back. You just have such incredible power. So it's so fun. And so when I look at it too, and I just created this with AI too, some of these principles that I think about is when people come to me too, this is, I think, a lot of what you were saying, Zane, is a lot of time when someone comes to me or to you with a problem, a lot of times the surface level stuff really isn't what they're suffering with or what they're actually trying to solve. A lot of that is really just a symptom on top of the problem, right? Like if someone came to me and so many times they said, my podcast isn't converting enough leads for me, like that'll come to me and I need AI. A lot of times they'll come to me with that problem or that type of problem, but that is really a very surface level problem. That is a symptom of the real problem itself. When you dig down, there's usually something underneath the surface that needs to be solved, uncluttered, expanded upon, etc. So really just getting clear on, asking the 5 whys here is super important of really drilling down to what that is. To me, every workflow has 3 parts. So, information, when a person is working through something, information comes in. So if you think about it as like an event, a conversation, a file, it's going to get stored somewhere, which is a tool, a folder in your head, and it shows up when it needed. So at the right moment, in the right format, et cetera. So if you think about every workflow when you're building these to solve a problem, again, if you going back and just simplifying this stuff, so then you could use AI to help you solve it. Think about, okay, what is the information that's coming in? Is this I think in that example we just saw, like if we were even look at this, I think, you lack a reliable, low friction system that captured regularly resurfaces a client's long-term proposal, long-term personal context and last session commitment before calls, right? So there's something at the very front of that's coming in. The information is coming in.
Yep.
So just getting that and isolating that, right? Next step of that is it gets stored somewhere. It's a tool, it's a folder, it's in your head. Right now, it sounds like it probably is getting stored somewhere, whether it's a Google sheet, whether it's just keeping in your head, whether it's staying in that email. That's to me the isolation number 2 that we got to identify and fix what's broken, and then show up where needed at the right moment in the right format. So the second part or the third part of that is the delivery. It's the automation. It's the prompt. It's the push of that information to show up in the right database when that person needs it. So immediately, again, recapping a little bit, just even the 1 and 2, the surface level is not the problem. That person may just said, I'm not getting enough leads from my current system. Okay, that's actually probably not the problem. That's a symptom of the problem. Number 2, okay, let's look at the workflow, break it into 3 parts, and we'll start attacking each of those 3 parts individually. So many people say, they think they want tools all the time. They'll say like, oh, I really need to get better with my LinkedIn Navigator. I need to get better with organizing my Notion database. But people say they want tools, but what they really want is just progress, right? They don't care what tool gets them there. So try and keep that in mind when you're solving this for someone. Don't get too focused on the tool itself. Focus on the problem. Find the smallest fixes that works. So perfect systems don't get used. Zane, I know you talk about this all the time.
Yes.
People, and I think this is actually you do a better job of articulating this than I do, but a lot of the reason a lot of AI implementation fails is because people come in with really big, shiny, awesome 128 step end-to-end workflows that just sit there because they don't fit into that person's workflow. They don't show up in the right place at the right time. It forces them outside their comfort zone or their normal way of doing things. And so it just doesn't get used versus maybe a potential ugly, simple system that works and shows up at the right time is a much better solution. Yeah. And if you can't say it simply, you just don't understand it yet. So the one sentence that really kind of can bring this all together for you is this takes input and turns it into output when blank is triggered. So this takes client transcripts and turns it into enhanced personal data that shows up whenever I click on this, right? Like if you just think about all these things, then all this stuff becomes much more simplified and is easier to start thinking about versus thinking you need to attack every single problem differently. And let me know if anybody has any questions on that that process or if you have any comments. on that.
Yeah. Just a quick comment I'll add is to what you said about the find the smallest fix that works. I think there it's it's really easy to get sucked into the ideal system and then kind of just get obsessed with trying to design the ideal system before really even thinking about like are you going to adopt the system after you build it, right? Like we're all creatures of habit, and so to me it's a lot of times is like find the step that makes it like 10% better, and that could just be like, okay, I'm going to start using a prompt and start using it and actually like get the output and get the value, and this is how I kind of arrive at a lot of my skills or projects or any of those things that I build. It's usually it starts with a prompt and then I use it for a bit. And a lot of times you should see my I kind of call it like my prompt graveyard because I create prompts all the time thinking that I'm gonna use them like crazy. And then they don't really get used. But that tells me what's actually worth taking further kind of up that chain and trying to create a project or a skill or an automation. But I think a lot of times it's like just really appealing to say like, yeah, I'm gonna try to go create the automation to do this. You go down a rabbit hole and try building that, and by the time you're done with it, it's like you spent 10-15 hours trying to build the automation, and then you build it, and it's not even exactly what you need, and you don't even use it, right? And so you kind of end up in a situation where like you didn't even move the ball forward like 1 yard, um, even though you may have learned a lot. Not saying not to do that, but I've just learned kind of this practice of like it's I guess a mantra that I've always followed is like think big, start small, deliver quickly. Like you kind of define the problem, but then break it down into like really small steps, and then like actually do some of those things, and then kind of keep working towards the bigger vision. So that's how I like stop myself from spending a lot of time creating stuff that I'm not gonna use.
Yeah, no, that's good. I couldn't tell if my screen was frozen or if you guys did you see this? Did I have this up earlier?
Yeah, that's up. And then
Okay.
I see John did have a question. John Beaton asked, using your concept of a council, is it a skill or a project by asking Claude to create a council based on your curse of knowledge 90%? Trying to think what that is related to. Was it something in the article?
It was probably either that or the ones you sent out in the WhatsApp inner circle invite, I guess. But I like when I look at your council, those could work as projects or skills.
Yeah, those could be both.
It just depends where you want to use it. Like if you want it to show up anywhere in any project that you're working on or any conversation, then I would install it as a skill, and just make sure the description of that skill is very clear of when you want it to show up. Otherwise, if you like it, if you want to just set up an entire project with Zane, I think you have 155 different councils now. So
yes,
I would you could do that where you could just have an entire project with all these different councils that you could call on, etc. And Nicole, it's good to see you here. So do we want to John, let us know if that solved the problem. You could take that council that Zane gave you, John, and literally go into Claude and say, help me build this into use the Claude builder skill to help me create a skill. I want this to show up when X, and you just fill it in. So super cool. So should we take a stab at solving this bad boy?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Do you want to drive this one, or you want me
to? Well, you already got your screen up, so we can
from scratch. Okay. So I think honestly, if someone gave me this one,
are you back on the dock? I still see the Claude screen.
Let's see if I can. Let's try. Stop screen. We're new to StreamYard here, so
we're not pro streamers yet.
We'll get there. All right. So yeah, if I was trying to solve this one, you can see it now.
Yep.
Okay. And you see my Claude?
Yep. I
would literally start with giving this to Claude, right? And I would probably say something of, whenever I'm separating out of context, I always put these 3 little dashes. Just something I saw someone do one time, and I noticed that's how all really good prompts in .md files are set up. So it is just a little habit I built and seems to work really well, because that's how AI likes to read it. I would say, going back to what we just talked about, right? If we look back at this, when what we're seeing here is actually something, because we asked people who submitted questions to go through the 5 whys. So this one's already drilled down pretty good. To me, it's still not drilled down enough, right? Like enough for me to really understand it. So using Whisper Flow, I would say, I'm trying to solve this problem below, but first I want to understand what they are really trying to solve. From a first principles perspective, can you help me understand all the different parts of this and what the core problem could potentially be? So again, it's not attacking it from where it is. It's trying to unbundle it first to get to the core part of what we are really trying to solve. Because if you just took this and said, I want a skill that tries to solve for this, it's almost like you're trying to solve from level 4 when level 1 hasn't even been discovered yet of what this problem really is, right? So if you think about it, okay, this is surface level framing about a missing system. Exactly. So right away you could see, coming at it from, again, trying to drill down, let's drill all the way down before we try and solve this and figure out what's really going on here. The surface level framing is about a missing system, specifically one that captures and resurfaces client context before calls. There are several layers underneath here worth examining. There's actually 2 distinct information challenges bundled together here. Let me zoom in for you guys. I'm not sure how, or if it's really gonna let me, to be honest. Yeah. Long-term personal context. This is the accumulated understanding of who this client is, what matters to them. This builds over years. Last session commitments. This is much more tactical. What do we agreed they do? What did I promise to follow up on? This is accountability tracking. These require very different capture mechanism systems. So a lot of this is going to be dependent on the person who asked this. It's going to be a lot dependent on how are they actually capturing this content here. So we won't know if this is a new, again, this is only just one question. So if I was with them in person, I would do some drilling down into, okay, how are you actually capturing the context? But at least I know now to ask that question, right? How are you capturing your customer data currently? How long have you been doing that for? Where does all of this live? And then on a day-to-day thing, what are the last sessions? So again, much more tactical. What did they agree to do? What did I promise to follow up on, et cetera.
Yep.
Timing problem. This statement says before calls, which raises the question, how far? 5 minutes, the night before, the morning of. This matters because it determines if you need a push system, information comes to you, or a pull system, you get to go to it when you remember to. Again, getting very clear on what we're actually trying to solve. The friction problem. Low friction appears twice conceptually in capture and retrieval, but these often conflict. The more structured and thorough your capture, the more useful your retrieval, but the higher the capture friction. Here's what I want to push a bit. The problem escalates quickly from unprepared, risk, renewals, financial stability. That's a big leap. Is showing up prepared actually why renewals are at risk, or is that an assumption? So like you can see, it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And because we don't have I don't think we have the person. If they're here, we'd love to bring you up and he'd ask you more questions. But if not, we will just take our best stab at solving this, right? So what I would say is we don't have the additional context needed for a lot of this stuff. So what we need to do is design a system that is flexible enough or has a variable in place to receive whatever input they are currently using and then process it. Meaning, because we don't know where this stuff lives for this person. If we already knew that everything is being stored in Fireflies, or everything's being stored in Zoom, or everything's being stored in Google Drive, I would have gotten much more specific there. But because we don't know, what I would do now, and this would actually probably be helpful for everybody here, is design a system that is flexible enough where it can accept anything. It won't be as powerful enough. The more customized, the more specific you can get. And if we were working with somebody one-on-one, we would actually build it for that. So right now we're just designing the system architecture with placeholders for the variables we don't know yet. Let me reframe this as a design problem. So again, these are going to be true regardless of context. Going again to now, because of AI, we have the ability to solve just about every problem if we break it down the right way and then ask AI the right questions. So, the input layer, whatever they're currently using, processing layer transforms raw inputs into usable pre-call context, the trigger mechanism, something that initiates the retrieval before the call, and the delivery layer, how the process context reaches them. So we just need to define these things, the current capture method, the trigger, delivery, the core processing question. The heart of the system is the transformation, raw accumulated information into actionable call, pre-call debrief. So the brief likely needs to answer, who is the person beyond the service? Where did we leave off? What did they commit to doing? And what did I commit? And so we just keep drilling down like this until we actually built a system, even without knowing all of the context of what this person actually is doing, to then solve this. What do you think, Zane? Is there anything you'd add or do differently here?
No, I mean, that's you're spot on. I think if we had the person on here, we could definitely interview them and get more out of it. But to try to create something that's more of like a scaffold that everybody could use. Yeah, I feel like where my mind goes thinking about skills, it's there could be like a number of skills that we could kind of apply to each of those like periods of time. Almost, I'm assuming they have transcripts, so being able to kind of extract commitments and things like that from a transcript, and then store that somewhere, and then when they do have that next call, another skill to extract, and that kind of, like, to me, starts to get at the memory piece of it, right? Just depends how many clients they have, how what kind of business it is, but I'm just thinking about a few different ways we could go about it, or it's more of a general scaffold.
Yep. And what's cool about Claude Skills too, again, remember, you could add in, these are almost like portable GPTs or portable projects now. So beyond just this .md file, which is more like what you're used to with the custom instructions, what you could then also do is add in references, and references are just additional files. Think about it as additional knowledge files. So they're super powerful. So you can see even in this one, this is what I call an architect skill for building products. I think, it is for building systems is what I use it for. I actually have additional knowledge files that go with it, just as if I were to use this as a project. So what I would say on this one, just so we could show you how one of these is built, what I will say is, let's go ahead and start mapping out the processing logic to build this skill, but then also go and do some research to see what other reference files we could include in this skill. And so when you build it with the Claude Skill Builder skill, you can include those as reference files to make this as powerful as possible. I think what you can also see is, I think both when me and Zane prompt a lot too, it is very conversational prompting. I think there are certain times where you do want, when you're looking for very repeatable outputs, you want to have very good structured prompts. But when you're trying to kind of iterate and get to an outcome, it's more about the nuance of just the conversational talking with AI to get to where you need to go. What is doing here that it's kind of funny. I wonder why it's going to Fireflies. So let me stop that.
It thinks it's for you.
Yeah. So you can even see here. So I have Fireflies connected. So these are where they could actually even get more powerful, because you could actually, I don't want to throw too much on everybody here, but just so you could see, you could connect different apps outside of Claude to your Claude. And so even when we were talking about building a skill, and I put this in the training doc that I sent you guys, you could connect to all these different things, whether it's Notion, Google Drive. In this case, it was going to Fireflies. So when you create a skill inside the custom instructions of that skill, it can go out and get data from things like a Fireflies, from things like a Google Drive, etc. So when you're talking about the information retrieval, you really could create an entire workflow for this person. For instance, again, if all their data is being stored in a Google Drive, part of that skill would say, when this type of call comes, or when this call comes in from this client, go to my Google Drive and pull all of that customer's data and our last call data. So it could go out to Google Drive, get all the customer information. It could go out to Fireflies, pull the last call, like last 2 or 3 calls that you had for context, and then build your whole context file for you every single time, all packaged up in a skill. And all that is just saying, when call comes in, go to Google Drive to retrieve X, go to Fireflies to retrieve Y, and put it together for you. So now you can start seeing how these skills can actually be workflows that you're putting together just in that one file. So let's try it again. I turned off Fireflies, I think. So let me make sure I turned it off again. No, it did not. It really wants to use it. So let's see what it does. This is where the people who are watching the recording will benefit from the 2x speed.
That's what happens when you're building live.
I always so one of the things, I mean, it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. It's obviously when I'm looking at this, thinking of what it's actually doing, it's going and looking at my history and my memory. So it may change it a little bit, but it's going to still put something pretty cool together. Yeah. Good. It usually doesn't take this long, but it's
going through.
Imagine it's gonna be pretty intense skill. And all this stuff, again, if you think about what I've done so far, just to go back, I've asked it just this. I'm trying to solve this problem below. We don't have additional context. Let's go ahead and start mapping out the process. This is just me answering questions. Let's go ahead and start mapping out the process, right? Again. And now it's going and creating the skill itself. You don't need to be a coder. You don't need to be very technical. You just need to have know how to just talk to AI in the right way. And again, when you're following something as simple as these kind of frameworks right here of, thinking about every workflow has 3 parts, or what is the actual job that needs to be doing. And this is, if you guys have ever heard of David Allen's, jobs to be done framework, I think it's David Allen. What is the actual job that's being done for this product? And then even in this one simple sentence at the end, if you could walk away with this takes input blank, this takes the transcripts, this takes whatever, turns it into a context file, a enriched customer data file when I ask for it, really, or when I type in X or when I prompt Y. That is as simple as it comes. And then there's different failure types. So yeah, I put together, again, this got me to really think through my process of 5 questions that map any broken system. Where does this information live right now? What happens to it next? Where do you need it when? So if he was on the call, these are exactly the kind of things I would ask him. And this works again for everything, because information, I mean, everything is data, right? We're all working with data in to solve a problem, data out.
Yep.
Let's see where it is.
Still working.
Well, what it's doing now is, because I asked it to go out, do some research. And that's another thing, is one of the things I said, go out, do some research to put together all the things that could really enhance this, to make it, and by enhance it with reference files, again, knowledge files, like you would in a GPT, like you would in any project, to give it more data, so it could be its own standalone little pocket, little node, little brain of information to work independently. And it just lives in the background. It's super, super cool. So when you just start thinking like that, it could really just change how you organize work, how you create workflows. And you'll see at the end of this, you could once that's created, it's portable, right? This is going to be able
to send it. Yeah, you can send it. We're going to send it to everybody on here. Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, I'll just throw this in the Google, because I don't think I can attach it here, so I'll put it in a Google Drive and toss the link in there for you. This actually is going to be it's
going to be a pretty intense skill.
Anybody in the chat have any questions about this? Please. Again, we love questions. We are so in this heads down working all the time that we love talking to people and seeing what they're working on or what they need help with. So let us know.
Yeah, or if anyone has not experimented with skills, has questions about how to approach it, or if you have tried it and aren't seeing the value of it, be happy to.
Nicole, I know you
have questions.
Yeah, Nicole, I know you got some gold. You're Mrs. AI. Good, Nicole. You're going to be using skills after this.
Yeah, Ron. Yeah, it's for extracting call and yeah. So we had people. Concept of it, we had people submit a problem on our site, and yeah, the idea of the live stream was we wouldn't actually look at the problem until we started the live stream. So this is what somebody submitted. So yeah, it looks like they're looking for a way to create a system that captures and researches client long-term context, and so they don't show up unprepared and risk renewals. And so then we took that and started breaking down the problem a little bit further, and now getting to the part of trying to make a skill that can help support some of this.
Yeah. And Nicole, that's I mean, so Nicole says I'm building knowledge bases in Notebook LM, but it doesn't have integrations like this for building prototypes. Correct. But you have that data, right? So now that you have that data, just bring it over to Claude and build it in here. So you've done a lot of the hard work already. So now Claude's just going to be your Jesus Christ.
This is going to be one.
I've never seen it go this deep. So it's so this is the client prep engine. So it's going to come all as one zip file that we'll be able to download. I'm going to download this and just give it to you guys right now. So let me do this. Let me get a Google Drive file, upload, download, client engine. And I'll just give this to you guys to have while we're working on this. Share. Anyone, and now you guys can just go download this.
Janet said, as a beginner, if you're working on a new idea, not so much data, would need to find lots of references. Yeah, that's a great point, Janet. And usually what I do in that situation is I will just ask Claude or AI to, I actually did that this morning. I was working on an idea for a personal dashboard for myself, inspired by Max, and I wanted to think of design ideas, and I'm by no means a good designer. So one of the things I did was I asked Claude to go out and research 2026 UI UX design trends, color palette trends, and pretty much give me kind of a synthesized recommendation based on what it's seeing. So I went out and searched, I think, like 25 different websites, and you could see what it searched, and then gave me some really good recommendations. So it was pretty cool. So that's an easy way just to when you don't have without kind of breaking your chain of thought workflow within the chat, just use it to do the hard work.
Yeah. And so if we look at what it gave us, so it gave the core processing logic. All right. Oh, it's the client prep engine. So skill transforms whatever client inputs exist into actionable call briefs. So whether that's transcripts, whether that's knowledge files, etc., and it'll actually put it into a very actionable pre-call brief before your call. Again, all packaged up into a skill, so you're never even having to think about it. This will all happen in the background for you when you ask it to do it. So the variable layer input accepts any format: transcripts, notes, emails, CRM data, verbal descriptions. So when you think about the CRM data, so whether that's you just copy and pasting that into the chat or connecting it via MCP, like I showed you with one of those connections, you can connect to HubSpot, you can connect to Notion, whatever, wherever your data lives. For category extraction, pulls who they are, where you left off, their commitments and your commitments, generates a scannable 5-minute prep brief, and pattern recognition. So this is kind of goes into the heart of some of the stuff that we love to look at, is a lot of the implicit signals and what to watch for. Implicit signals meaning what are all the things that a client is not explicitly saying, right? Like what are all the things that they are saying that after you had a call, they didn't probably say they needed, but they needed, right? Like they hinted at it, or they kind of scratched the surface of it, or they repeated things a few different times. So it means it's probably more important than they're letting on to them. So it actually goes in and pulls that for you, which is super cool and something that's almost like a secret weapon once you get that right. So you can see all the reference files. It says it put together extraction framework. So how to pull the full 4 categories for any input, client patterns, 7 categories of implicit communication plus common client archetypes. If these don't align with your client archetypes, just tell Claude to change it for you. Like it's super cool. This file is just a .md file, which is a markdown file, which is the same as a Word doc, right? In just a different format. You can go in, open it up as a text editor and just edit it, or have Claude edit it for you. It's super easy to do. This is the template of what it's going to look like. The jobs to be done. We talked about that. What are we actually solving for? And then if you want to move from this manual process to MCP, there's just description in here for that. Yeah, Keith, I'm doing almost everything in Opus. It's just the best.
Yeah.
It's you'll hit limits faster, but it depends. Like especially like in Claude Code versus, or if you're working outside of Claude Desktop or Claude Web, I will switch around a lot more, even in mid conversation. The problem is when you're working on web like this or in desktop, if you switch in mid conversation, it'll actually force you into a new chat, which is annoying. So you kind of got to decide, if you're just doing some quick stuff, I would just throw it together with Sonnet. Honestly, Sonnet would probably do still a really good.
It's going to be, it'll absolutely be able to do something like this. So
yeah, Nicole, you could, Ron, what you're going to do, and let me just show you guys how to install this actually, just so that'll make it super easy too. And Nicole, you don't need to, you can move this into an agent if you want, but or you could just load it as a skill and just after every call, upload your transcript. But if you want to load it into some kind of Maker, some kind of Zapier workflow, you could do that, or whatever agent automation system like that. You now have the reference files in the .md docs for
Max, if you click on the client prep engine, it should pull up the zip file.
You just want
it should pull up, or maybe hit load file, because usually it shows you what is in there.
Yeah, I was gonna just do it in the.
Or you could just look at it and there you go.
So you can see, so it has the skill MD file. Yep. Come on. Oh, that's annoying. Let's see, where did it go? Or the client engine prep. Let's just see where it is. Google Drive still is not the best with a lot of the stuff.
There it is.
Engine, yeah. It keeps opening with this.
Maybe just download it to.
I just don't know if you'll still see my screen. As I'm worried. Let me do one thing first. Or Zane, why don't you get that up on your screen so you can see it, and I'll show them how to install it. Too. And then we'll switch over to yours. So to install it, you'll see how easy this is. You literally, Ron, you don't need to download all that stuff. You just get the zip file, go to settings, go to capabilities, down here, add, upload a skill. And it's done. So if we look at it, I wonder if it'll show me in here. Yeah, it'll show me in here actually. Zane. So
well, okay.
So again, at the top, how the skills are built. It's what's called YAML format. Don't worry about it. That's just our nerdy coding language. But YAML format is what's up top. But it's a format that you can see what it looks like for what AI is actually going to look at and process this in Markdown format. And this is YAML, whatever. But the description, so Claude uses these description when deciding what skills to use in the chat. So if you don't actually say, hey, use my client prep engine, it's first going to, and it's up at the top. So Claude could quickly scan through this and locate the descriptions of all your skill files to see when and why to use these things. So for here, generate pre-call briefs for accumulated client context. The skill transforms raw client inputs into actionable prep briefs that surface long-term context and last session commitments before scheduled calls. Use when a coach, consultant, or service provider provides needs to prepare for a client session, wants to process post-session notes, or needs to track client commitments. Triggers include, and so the triggers include is what it's actually looking for. So things like prep me for my call with this client, or process this transcript, or when do we last commit to this last time, or any request to synthesize client history into actionable context. So, Nicole, when you're saying like, when do we need to use this? Like, once this is installed, anytime you say, help me prep for my call with client Z or whatever, help me prep with my call with Zane, it's going to just run this workflow for you in the background, this entire thing with all these knowledge files. And this is what it's going to do. It's going to show you what it solves, the 3 loops, it's going to run through this whole workflow. Some of it is going to say, it's going to ask you, what do I have to work with? Also tell me when is the call. So this is what AI will actually ask you. It'll process whatever format arrives using this extraction framework. So meaning whatever you end up giving it. So if it's your notes, if it's an email, if it's the transcript they uploaded, it's going to then process it using this extraction framework, which is this, right? So you can see how this is like just a workflow in a box. It's so it's going to do that. It's going to process it using that workflow. Then it's going to generate the pre-call brief. And this is the session capture template that is also in the reference here, but they're putting it again. Offer depth after delivering the brief. Ask anything you want me to dig deeper on before the call. Post-session processing, user says process, etc. So like after the session with a client, say after you have that call, you can also use this workflow. So user process this session. So I just had a call, I could just take this call that we just recorded. I could say, hey, please process this this call I just had with Zane. It'll go into this part of the workflow. What client is it? So we make sure it knows what type of session. Was this a discovery, regular call, a check-in? And then to do that, it's going to capture it. So it's going to go to this capture template here and make sure it is captured so that it is now good to go back into your system every time to be re-referenced later for your next call. Again, pulling out all the implicit signals, all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, for pretty robust skill.
Pretty robust skill and again, if we go back to what I actually did, I think we overthink this stuff sometimes. How many things did I share, right? I'm trying to do this. Goes in. What is this? I think four or 5
messages. Yeah.
You want to call it prompts, but it's just conversation, right? It's just me turning on the microphone and asking it for a couple of things. Yeah. We ended up with an entire workflow.
Do you want to show? Do you have any sample transcripts or something? Or actually, well, we could just ask Claude to generate a sample transcript for us to show off how this skill would work.
Well,
or if you got a real one.
Did your alter capture this? Let's see if granola is running for me. It is not.
Just have it spin up a synthetic transcript.
Yeah, or if anybody has one in the chat, we'll toss it in for you. Brave enough to do that. That'd be cool. Alter or Hypernote maybe. Shoot. Can you generate a synthetic? Jesus, this is why I talk to test this. It's always Sarah. Oh, it's Rachel Chen. It's always Sarah Chen.
Yeah.
Claude loves Sarah Chen. I'm curious for everybody in the chat, is there anything that can you see this being immediately applicable to anything you're currently working on, a current workflow? I'd love to know what's coming up for you guys after seeing just how powerful and simple this could be, as long as you have a few core things in place first. Ron, I'm sure you have a ton of use cases here. I wish I could see more of the people so I can see who to pick on there. Let's see if it'll process it. Yeah, Ron, that's to have a skill just to copy chief everything you do without having to think about it would be. You should, for attending today, it's going to cost you your skill, your copy chief skill. Okay, great. Please run this skill. All right, so thanks for coming, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, Ron, I would almost say like you can have multiple principles in there and have it run through a workflow and like work with AI to say, here are the 5 different copywriting principles that I run through. Help me put them in a logical order to run through step by step instead of trying to attack it all at once. Like what makes the most sense, and then after each time of running it through, generate a new output. So you're actually copy chiefing the newest version versus all 5 of those principles copy chiefing the old version at separate times. So like each version then creates the input for the next, I think is a really cool way to look at that. So let's see. All right, the pre-call brief for Rachel. So next week, same time, last session, January 6th of 2005, who they are. So it gives the long-term context about who Rachel is going to be. So this is what it's done is, again, remember, we wanted a pre-call brief based off of an older transcript, and that's where they put together. It's giving the long-term context where you left off. So before the call, you know exactly why, where you guys left off last time, the key breakthrough. You name the real issue. The anxiety isn't about whether you could do the work. It's about whether you deserve the money, she said. That's exactly what it is, and connected it to her mother's messaging. So again, just these really contextual custom insights that you could keep bringing back in, have a checklist of their actual commitments to go over with them on the call, your commitments to see these. Did you send these? If not, better get on it. What to watch for. Again, this is the implicit stuff that we were talking about. So the pattern, the underpricing client plus permission seeking hybrid. Rachel matches both these archetypes. Language like, I'm not sure I'm worth, she said this before, seeking validation before acting, deflecting or minimizing, win neutralization in action. She may have found reasons why the 8,500 doesn't count. Listen for these 3 things. If you hear this pattern, name them again. She's aware of it now, so reinforce her awareness. So you can just see how showing up before a call, especially if you're rushed and you got a lot of stuff going on, you could just go to AI and say, hey, give me a client brief on, especially if you haven't connected to these and you put your system together before any call. You can just say, you could go into Claude or the day of, look at all your meetings and go into Claude and say, hey, generate me client briefs on all 5 of my meetings today. And all of these will come up for each individual client and each individual person.
Super cool. Yeah, it's going to be incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Super fun stuff. So anybody have any questions? Zane, is there anything else you want to share? I kind of hogged the screen today, so
yeah. Oh yeah, we're feel like we already overloaded everyone with this. Yeah, this is fun. We're gonna do more of these. Yeah.
So this is if you guys don't know, me and Zane and 2 other super duper smart people started this group too. So come feel free to check it out. This is the type of stuff that we're just sharing, is really just all the stuff we're doing behind the scenes, how we work, experiments, workflows. Tam has put in such cool Notion stuff. So if you're a Notion user,
Yeah.
She is going so deep on Notion and Notion agents right now. The stuff you could do there is just insane. We have another Zane, call him Lil Zane. He's brilliant dev, so tons of behind the scenes stuff like it's much more advanced. But if you got any technical questions, he's the man for you. But you'll see, we got tons of stuff going in here. We have tons of tools. Zane's about to launch something. You want to tease that actually?
Yeah, we could show Prompt Depot.
So we have a bunch of different tools that we're gonna, if that's part of just joining a community that you're gonna have access to. So one of these being one that's almost done, including Prompt Depot, which is going to be tons of skills and prompts. But the difference being, when you come on, you'll do a quick onboarding so that when you get your prompts, they'll all be customized for your situation. This is not a peanut butter spread type thing. Like when you get a prompt, the prompt will then be run through the system and customized based off of your profile and your situation. So it's super powerful. There'll be, I know we're gonna be loading up with skills. Me and him have an entire, there's a ton in here already, but we haven't even combined all of our hard drives of skills.
Yeah. The idea of it to be kind of like your Google Drive for your prompt skills, workflows, everything, and be able to keep things organized, discover new ones, but make sure everything is contextual based on you. So yeah, you'll have a whole profile in the back end, and it'll know who you are, and so you can take any prompt that you find, and within a click, kind of make it customized specifically for you and for your situation.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's just so, and again, it says free and premium. And being in the community, you'll get premium access to this. I'm doing another version of this, but for business books. So you saw my background, same thing here, where you'll actually be able to go in and based off all these really good business books, go in and apply the frameworks to your questions. So your profile will sync to both of these sites. Super cool stuff. So I'm almost done with this one, but blue ocean strategy, start with why, never split the difference, all these things. You'll see, you'll be able to come in here. It'll preload your profile just like this, go a little deeper on your situation, and it'll give you a full playbook based off of that book. So instead of having to, well, we've all had a million of these books that we read and don't do anything with. So, yeah. So AI is just better when it's built for you, not built for the person who built it. It's the easiest way to say that. So yeah, come check it out if you want. Again, it's got a free 7-day trial. We're just getting it off the ground. Super excited about it. Yeah, I think that's it. If anybody else has any questions, or Zane, you got anything?
No, super cool stuff. I think we'll cut it off here, and yeah, we'll be back hopefully next week if everyone liked this format. Be back and do more of these, get some more submissions in the vault, and yeah, I feel like we could build we could build hundreds of Claude Skills, but maybe we do another Claude Skills session, or change it up to a different type of resource. But this is fun.
Yeah, you guys let us know. We love it all. So come to us with ideas, and we'll be happy to jump on them and sell it live for you. All right, guys. Well, have a good rest of, what is it, Sunday? Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
See you.